The night felt heavier than usual, thick with tension I hadn't been able to shake for weeks. Erin stood in front of the full-length mirror in our cramped Chicago apartment, twisting the strap of her little black dress like it was some kind of puzzle she expected me to solve. The dress was expensive, tailored, and far too perfect for a random Thursday night. The apartment smelled like a mix of her floral perfume, faint hairspray, and the lingering scent of last night's takeout, cheeseburger grease, and something sweet from the bakery bag I had brought home. I sat on the edge of our bed, hands resting on my knees, listening to her slow, deliberate movements. "I'm doing what I want," she said, voice low but sharp, eyes glinting with a kind of thrill I hadn't seen in her for months. "Text whoever I want. Go wherever I want. If you don't like it, leave." Her words hung in the air, heavy, final. I felt no shock, no anger, just clarity. I had been waiting for this moment, not knowing when it would come, but knowing it was inevitable. I nodded slowly, calmly, packed my duffel bag with meticulous care, my laptop, my jeans, my favorite hoodie, the toothbrush I had never wanted to share, a few toiletries. I folded my shirts, rolled my socks, placed everything in neat compartments as if each act was reclaiming a piece of my life I had been losing over months of quiet frustration. Erin turned from the mirror, lips slightly parted as if to argue, but I didn't look at her. I walked past the perfume cloud, past the faint sparkle of the city lights reflecting through the window, and into the wet streets of Chicago. Neon signs shimmered off puddles like fractured memories. My footsteps echoed lightly on the sidewalk. I didn't have a destination, and I didn't need one. The chill of the night, the hum of the city, the engine of a taxi as it passed, these were all mine. My life had contracted around chaos for too long. Now it was expanding, uncertain, but mine again. By midnight, I found a small, tired motel on the outskirts of Logan Square. The neon sign flickered weakly, buzzing, a kind of exhausted welcome. Inside, the room smelled faintly of bleach and industrial cleaner, the sheets slightly stiff, the carpet rough under my feet. I unpacked methodically, socks in a drawer, shirts in the small closet, laptop on the desk. Each placement was an act of reclamation. This space would be mine for however long I needed it to be, free from the manipulation and drama I had endured. Almost immediately, my phone lit up. Unknown number. Messages. "Where are you? Answer me. This isn't funny." I read them once and put the phone down. Each ping a testament to her panic, each word a reminder of the chaos she had created and demanded I endure. She had wanted freedom. She had wanted it at any cost. And now she was seeing the consequences, though she couldn't yet comprehend them fully. I imagined her returning to our apartment, stumbling through the door after a night of self-indulgence and social validation. Her eyes would scan the empty closet, her hands lingering on the hangers, on the neatly folded shirts that were no longer there. She would pick up the note I left on her pillow. "You got what you asked for." No pleading, no anger, just the unshakable clarity of consequences. The night outside was quiet, the kind of silence only a city that never truly sleeps can produce. Neon reflections rippled on the wet asphalt as I finally lay down on the motel bed. No shared sheets, no arguments, no expectations, just sleep. Deep, dreamless, restorative sleep. The first real rest I had felt in months. When morning came, the city continued around me, indifferent. People rushing, buses rattling, coffee shops opening. Life moved on, and I was moving with it, finally, entirely, irrevocably free. The first week in my new apartment was strange, quiet, and deliberate. Logan Square was quieter than downtown. The streets lined with old brick buildings, corner coffee shops, and the faint smell of roasting coffee beans. I found comfort in routines I hadn't realized I'd abandoned. Morning runs along the Riverwalk, the rhythm of pavement beneath my feet clearing the fog of months of tension. Breakfast at a corner diner, greasy eggs, burnt coffee, the hum of conversation around me. Each sip, each bite felt like reclaiming small pieces of a life I had forgotten how to own. I set up my workspace, carefully arranging my laptop, notebooks, and a small speaker that filled the apartment with ambient sounds. I wanted control over my environment, even if the city outside remained chaotic. The apartment was modest, a studio with a view of a brick wall and a distant train track, but it was mine. No shared closets, no arguments over what to watch on TV, no expectations hanging over every action. And then the messages started. Unknown number. Multiple notifications blinking at me over the first 2 days. Alex, answer me. Please, I didn't mean it. I was stressed. You're overreacting. Where are you? We need to talk. I read each one slowly, like an anthropologist observing the rituals of an alien species. The panic wasn't about me. It was about her disrupted evening, the missing shoes, the empty closet she had left behind. Social media became another layer. I couldn't help but glance at her posts out of morbid curiosity. She was living her best life, hashtags and emojis spilling across every image. Friends cheering her on. Cocktail in hand, lipstick perfect, smile wide. Yet, behind the captions, there was something frantic in her eyes, a tension that no filter could hide. I kept my routines. Gym mornings, coffee at the same corner diner, late-night walks along streets illuminated by orange street lamps. Each repetition grounded me. Each moment of independence reminded me why I had left. Erin had sought freedom at my expense. She had demanded a world where her choices were absolute and my devotion unconditional. Now I was building a world where my peace was absolute and her intrusion irrelevant. On the fourth night, her panic escalated. Phone calls came in rapid succession. Each one I let ring, each text I let sit unread. Alex, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Come back. I imagined her arriving home, seeing the empty apartment, realizing that the consequence of her words wasn't just theoretical. It was real, permanent. She had assumed I would plead, that I would fight for her attention despite the disrespect. Instead, I had acted exactly as she instructed. I left. Friends reached out too. A call from Logan, our mutual acquaintance, filled me in. She's a mess, he said, almost apologetically. Work's bad. Social life's a disaster. She's talking to Mark like it's going somewhere, but he's ghosted her. I don't know what to say, man. She keeps crying, watching movies, saying she made a huge mistake. I listened politely, detached. Not pity, not judgment, just observation. She had mistaken attention for loyalty, applause for love, and now the consequences of her choices were unfolding. The chaos she had chased was real, but it wasn't my problem anymore. I had created boundaries, built routines, claimed back the life I had almost lost. By the end of the week, the apartment felt like a fortress. I could hear myself think. I could drink my coffee without anyone sighing because I got a drop on the counter. I could run, stretch, read, eat, live. Every act, even mundane ones, became a quiet reclamation of self. And as night fell, the city outside hummed its indifferent lullaby. Neon reflections on wet streets, distant horns, and the faint rumble of trains became a soundtrack to my solitude. For the first time in months, I didn't feel anxious, abandoned, or desperate. I felt complete. By the second week, Erin's efforts escalated. Unknown numbers, multiple texts, frantic calls, all piling up like a storm battering a quiet shore. Alex, please answer. I need to talk. You're making a mistake. I let them sit. Each buzz or ring was a reminder. She had wanted freedom, absolute control, and now she was discovering what that meant without me there to absorb it. Social media became her stage. Her Instagram feed flooded with images that screamed independence and thrill. A crowded bar selfie with friends, neon cocktails in hand, captions like, "Living my best life, #free, #good vibes only." Stories of laughter, blurry lights, the triumph of someone convinced they were untouchable. Yet even through the filters, something was off. Her eyes darting, anxious smiles, the tension behind the posed perfection. She tagged friends, they tagged back, the chorus of approval swelling around her like a tide. But every ping on my phone, every image, every hashtag felt distant, irrelevant. I watched not out of desire, but detached observation, like a historian documenting the rituals of a society I no longer belonged to. The applause she sought was meaningless. The loyalty she needed was absent. Then came Mark. A new face, frequent mentions, gym selfies, casual lunches. The two of them, side by side, appearing untouchable together. Yet the desperation in her captions betrayed her. "When you upgrade to first class, I felt nothing," she wrote, "learning to be my own rock." The words were supposed to convey empowerment, but I read them for what they were. Attempts to patch a self-made hole. A narrative spun to maintain dignity where none existed. Calls and messages didn't stop. Her tone shifted from panicked to accusatory. "Alex, you were supposed to fight for me. You're abandoning me. I need you." I didn't answer. Her friends, the same ones who cheered her on, suddenly became observers of her unraveling. Logan called again. "She's losing it," he said quietly. "She got written up at work, crying in meetings. Friends are avoiding her. She keeps saying she made a huge mistake." I listened without flinching. Not anger, not pity, just clarity. This was the consequence of her choices. The chaos she had sought to impose on me was now reflected back in her own life, amplified by her obsession with control and validation. I didn't intervene. I didn't plead. I existed outside her storm, a quiet observer of the inevitable result of her actions. The studio apartment became my sanctuary. My routines, the gym, the coffee shop visits, and long evening walks kept me grounded. Each day, I felt a layer of independence cementing itself around me. The chaos outside, messages, calls, Instagram stories, no longer penetrated. I had walls, emotional, practical, absolute. By the end of the third week, Aaron's attempts had turned into frantic, almost performative despair. Unknown numbers, texts pleading, voicemails thick with tears and desperation. "I lost everything, Alex. My apartment, my job, my friends. I was wrong. Please, just talk to me." The confessions came, but they weren't apologies. They were demands for redemption, for absolution that she had never earned. I listened once, stored the voicemails, deleted the texts, and let the silence speak. I had learned to value peace over engagement, to recognize manipulation for what it was. She was trying to replay the past, to manufacture guilt, to reclaim me as the object of her attention. But the transaction was complete. She had chosen a world without boundaries for herself. I had chosen a world with them for me. And in that choice lay freedom. Each passing day in Logan Square, the hum of the city outside, the smell of coffee and wet pavement, the familiar streets under my feet, they reminded me that life continued, mine to navigate on my terms. Erin could rage, cry, plead, and perform her drama endlessly. But I existed outside it, untouchable, unclaimed, and finally, undeniably free. 2 months had passed since I walked out. My new studio apartment in Logan Square had become a sanctuary, a space of order, routine, and quiet independence. The streets outside carried the familiar hum of Chicago life. Distant trains, cars splashing through puddles, neighbors' voices drifting in through open windows. I had rebuilt a rhythm for myself, small but steady, anchored in exercise, work, and the simple joys I had neglected for too long. Then, one cold, relentless autumn evening, I saw her. Erin, standing under the narrow awning of a closed coffee shop, soaked through by the rain, hair plastered to her head, mascara streaked down her cheeks. The dress she wore wasn't black this time. It was cheap, thin, failing to shield her from the chill. She looked smaller, vulnerable, human in a way she hadn't been when she wielded control and arrogance like armor. Our eyes met. She stepped forward, hesitated, the frantic hope in her gaze unmistakable. "Alex," she called, voice trembling. "I had to see you, I had to." I didn't move toward her. I slowed my pace but maintained the space, my umbrella a barrier between her chaos and my peace. Her words spilled over one another, desperate, almost theatrical. "I made a huge mistake. I was wrong about Mark. I lost everything. I just needed to feel wanted. I see now. You were the one who was solid. I was stupid. Please, let's just talk." I looked at her carefully, really seeing her for the first time since that night she issued her ultimatum. Not the woman I had loved, not the person I had built a life with. Just someone clinging to the illusion of control she had already destroyed. Her pleas were not apologies. They were attempts to reclaim the life she had burned. I could see the manipulation behind the tears, the pattern repeating. "Aaron," I said, calm, deliberate. "You told me exactly what you wanted. To go wherever, text whoever, do whatever. And if I didn't like it, to leave. I followed your instructions." Her mouth opened, shut, words failing to form. I continued, my voice steady. "That transaction is complete. You wanted freedom at my expense. You got it. I am free. My life is mine now." She shivered in the rain, a mix of disbelief, panic, and dawning horror in her eyes. She was grasping at the fragments she had left behind, but I had built walls too strong for her to penetrate. No amount of pleading, no tears, no promises could undo what had been decided. I stepped past her, unlocked the door to my building, and walked inside. The warm light, the scent of clean air and quiet, enveloped me. A neighbor, Maya, stretching after her evening run, smiled and greeted me. The normalcy, the ordinary life, felt profound. "Tell me about it," I said lightly, feeling a genuine smile for the first time in months. Outside, Aaron's figure blurred in the rain, a ghost of the past dissolving into the night. I didn't look back. The lobby door clicked shut, sealing the moment, the chapter. Inside, I felt the fullness of peace. No texts, no calls, no ultimatums. Just the city, my routines, and the knowledge that I had chosen myself. That the chaos she had created, the manipulation, the demands for validation, all of it now existed outside my world. I had witnessed it, acknowledged it, and moved on. And that was enough. The storm she had promised never reached me. The rain outside was cold, indifferent, but it could not touch the warmth, order, and quiet strength I had reclaimed. My life was mine, and nothing, not regret, not pleading, not the echoes of her cries, could take it back. For the first time in months, I felt entirely, undeniably free.